Good afternoon, everybody. I don't normally get to post a lot of these. Most of them I end up doing, and I end up abandoning them because of because of I don't know, they're not proper at the time. They don't feel good. I haven't got all the editing gimmick stuff to spend time editing them. So I normally end up going, nah, it was too long, or I buffled on, or like I'm doing now. But it's a lovely sunny day. There's a few clouds in the sky, but it wasn't earlier. There's a few clouds in the sky, so I thought, I'm off today, why not take the bike out, enjoy some of the sun. I've got my summer trousers on, semi-summer gloves on, summer jacket, and I wish I hadn't put the summer jacket on, because even though the sun's out, it is actually pretty nippy. It's probably about 10, 11 degrees, which ain't too bad if it's just still in the sun. It's lovely. Might even be more than that when it's still in the sun, but doing 40 mile an hour, it tends to be a bit nippy because my summer jacket is like a woven thing. The arms tend to get to you a little bit. I've got a vest on, so my body's alright, just the arms get a little bit cold. But anyway, I digress. Reason for today's little which hopefully I'll put on YouTube stint, is lithium-ion batteries. I don't know how many of you out there have got them. I don't know how many of you out there like them, hate them, rate them, or whatever. I've had lithium batteries on my two bikes now for a couple of years. I had, when I first got one for this bike, the ZX6R, 2000 ZX6R. I got it to lower the weight down a little bit. Obviously, like I said, it's really heavy, and lithiums feel like they sent you an empty box, basically. So I got it to keep the weight down as well, and they're easy to. They're ready for everything, basically. I keep my bike in the house. Summertime, obviously, I'll probably get it out a little bit and leave it outside when I'm using it, so I ain't got to keep dragging it outside the house every time. But generally, it's inside the house. So summertime, it's when it'll be outside every now and then. I've never tested it with a proper cold yet. I had a little bit when it was when I first got it. But my first lithium-ion battery, I put it on there. Within less than a week, my bike completely drained it for some reason. I hadn't left nothing on as far as I'm aware. The only thing I had on was an alarm, which I had a tracker on as well. Sorry, an alarm and a tracker. Now, later I found out these trackers are. It was a cheap tracker, it was like 30 quid or something like that. You just put a SIM in it, wire it up to your battery, and off you go, so to speak. So. It wasn't the best, and I found out that they're actually better for obviously cars and lorries and that are whacking out a great more voltage and amperages than a bike, because it does use it whilst it's stationary. So that's basically I found out that my tracker drained the entire battery. And as you may or may not know, lithium batteries, once they're drained, they're basically useless. Like, I mean, properly useless. Apparently, the word is that once they're drained, you bin them if they get below a certain amount of volts. And I don't know if the volts is, I can't remember what it is, but it's something. They normally have a switch off section inside of them, which if it gets below a certain volt, it switches off completely. Some of them have a circuit saver in there, which basically means if it drops below a certain volts, probably 12, it switches off completely, and you need to add you need to give it some voltage to reactivate it again. It's almost like a sleep mode. Anyway, these ones, this one and this one completely died, no voltage whatsoever. Sent it back because as far as I was aware it shouldn't have been drained that easily and that quickly. They apologised, they were really good about it, sent me a new one, which was brilliant. I got another battery out of it. Took the tracker off for obvious reasons. Kept the alarm on because that's only wasn't even a flashing LED. I even took the flashing LED off so it wasn't even draining power that way. And everything was fine after that. It was nothing wrong with it. It was working fine, and I had it ever since. I tend not to try and make it go to flat if I can help it, so I do have trickle charges, which are maintaining this as well. They say to use a correct battery charger for a lithium battery charger. I've always found that as long as you're not putting out more than the battery is meant to have, so if it's a 14.4 or 14.5 volt battery, as long as you're not putting in more than 14.5 volt volts into it when you're charging, you are fine. And as I've got a maintainer, it tends to, it's like a smart charger, it tends to be, it's an Oxford one, it tends to charge it to what's needed. When it gets to a certain charge, certain voltage, it turns off and nothing happens. You can literally sit there, watch the screen and watch it all, the voltage slowly drop over the coming weeks, and then when it gets to a certain voltage it kicks in again and starts topping it back up, which is what you want. So it's brilliant for it. I normally keep that in the house on a maintainer. I've got two maintainers because I've got two bikes and I've got two lithium batteries, so I brought a lithium battery then for my Honda Fury, my chopper, mainly because it was light enough. The Fury's probably like 300 something pounds as it is, or kilos as it is, so I thought, well, let's keep some weight down a little bit. I needed a new battery anyway because it hadn't been changed in a while and it was on there for a long time, so I thought, well, I'll get out a lithium battery because I'm alright with, I'm having good fun with the one I got on the Kawasaki. So again, lithium, got a Oxford charger, and they've been on the bikes ever since. Now, last month at some point I had a power cut in my house when I woke up, so I noticed it. I thought, well, I got two chargers in the front room, I think I better keep it. I thought I'd just turn them off, so when the power kicks back in again I don't have two chargers go bang straight back in. Might trip something off, I don't know, but they probably wouldn't have, but I didn't want to risk it, so I turned them off. I forgot to turn them back on again, you know, as you do, which basically meant for the next month or so my battery was connected to a charger which was off, but that was it, nothing else, it wasn't being charged. So I went to check some mileage on my Honda, and lo and behold, turn the key, dead as a doo-doo. This is not good. I had no volts in it whatsoever. So I was well gutted, as you can imagine. And I thought, oh my god, I'm going to have to buy a new one. They're like 60 quid, ain't too bad, but I'm just gutted that I've let it go down and it's drained over the month, basically. I thought, I read a lot of stuff online like everyone else has, you know, dead, chuck it, it's not worth it, bin it, you know, it's lithium battery, could explode if you try to charge it, blah blah blah. I thought, well, what can go wrong, basically? What on earth could I do if I do it carefully? Could it go wrong? And try. So I did. I basically got a battery booster, but it's a from a bike or car, but it's small for a bike. It's very small, about the size of a large power bank for a phone. And it's pretty smart. It can power stuff directly, 12 volts, 9 volts and 6 volts, or it can jump 9 volts, 12 volts and 6 volts. and it's small enough to stick in a small bag, or you know, under your seat if you had plenty of room under your seat, and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, why not see if I can jump the bike, get it started, the Honda. Once it's started, the alternator should then stick some oomph in it, because my charger wasn't touching it. My Optimizer, it kept saying 0, but it would not put any more volts in it, because it's a smart one. It knows it's a lithium maybe, or it knows that it's that dead, it ain't worth it. So I was stuck with, I couldn't charge it to see what it was. I didn't have a normal battery charger, you know, just clip on, off you go. So I stuck this on there to try and boost it, and hopefully the bike would charge it. The bike, well, I'd say that I stuck it on the Honda. I didn't stick it on the Honda. I went to check the Kawasaki, and again I forgot to turn it on. So the Kawasaki was dead. Now the Kawasaki, this one I'm running today, is a project bike of mine, so I'm doing stuff to it all the time. So I thought, well, let's play with this one first. If anything goes wrong with this one, I'd rather lose this one than I'd lose my Honda. It costs a lot more money. So I took the seat off, did the battery thing, boosted it, wouldn't start, because when I put the bike away for the duration of a couple of weeks at a time or whatever, 2 weeks at a time sometimes, especially over winter, it could be a month or so, I drain the carbs as much as I can. This helps with the jets being clogged, etc, etc, with the petrol. So I needed a lot of ampage to prime the carbs again, or a lot of ampage from the starter to try and make sure that I could start it for long enough to get the fuel through. It wouldn't go, and in the end I just went, sod this, I'm just going to stick it on 12 volts DC and just pump some, I forgot that this was here, and just pump some you can see that's the next slide, yeah, pump some volts into the battery like the charger would do. I left it on for about 30 seconds, took it off, plugged my charger straight back in my Oxford Optimizer, and lo and behold, 9.7 volts, we're charging, off we go. I was like, wicked. So I've basically left that on there for over a week now. No, left it on there for about 3 days, and it got to maintaining, which basically means it says it's fully charged and turn it off. You can disconnect it if you want to. I disconnected it for nearly a week, so I had nothing on there for a week, no charging. I got the battery voltage tester out, check the voltage, stays within 13.2 for the week virtually. So I'm like, well, it's working, isn't it? Obviously it's working. So I've decided to do the same to the Honda. Now I was meant to YouTube it, like I'm going to be doing with this bit, but I was meant to video YouTube me doing it, so everyone was aware of how to do it, because like I said, a lot of people out there probably bought batteries, they've had them die on them for some reason, so they're gutted that they've had them die on them, but they binned them. So, because they've always been told, bin them, they're not worth it. So, I thought, what the hell, it's working, I thought I'd YouTube it. Well, I forgot. I got carried away when I got home one day from work and thought, sod this, I'm doing it, whack it on, and I did. I just stuck the battery booster on, put it on 12 volts, left it on there for about 30 seconds, took it off, plugged in my Optimizer, off it went. You have 10.7 volts, it's charging, it's working. So that's been left there, battery cover off to make sure that it can breathe properly. I will also inform you that whilst I was charging the one on this Kawasaki, I was checking it morning and evening for voltage, but also morning and evening for any swelling, any heat coming from it unnecessarily whilst it was charging, and I had none. I had no extra swelling, no heat coming from it unnecessarily. It was working fine, and obviously being a multi-cell battery, you've got to be careful with the swelling. You can normally tell the casing swelling up or extra heat coming from it. So in my eyes, people, this is what this whole thing is for, in my eyes. If you've got a lithium battery, if you leave it on and drain it, or you just don't ride it for that long, so you've left it parked up, I recommend a optimizer always on, because it will, if it's a decent optimizer, you can't prolong it. You need something that turns off when it's fully charged. You cannot keep banging in voltage to a fully charged system. So I would get an optimizer. If you want to fork out and get a proper charger for a lithium battery, do it. You know, they're only a little bit more in my eyes than an optimizer, but the optimizer is multi-use. You can use it on multiple batteries. So I'd stick to the optimizer if you can. Oxford one are about 35 quid to 40 quid. It's digital readout. They are worth it. They come with a whole host of connections as well, whether it be crocodile clips or electronic push and click connectors, so you can connect that up to a battery. Then I have it connected up to a wire connection, which basically means I can, without taking the seat off, I can plug it into my optimizer at any time I want to, whether as long as it's near a power source, which always is because it's indoors. So I would do that. I get an optimizer and I keep it plugged in constantly, safely. It will be fine as long as it's plugged in. Also, if you are going to leave it and completely winterize your bike because you're not using it at all from, I don't know, end of October to February, you're draining all the carbs out, if you drain the carbs out, or you drain the tank, or whatever you want to do to get it already done. I personally would take the battery off, but keep it somewhere warm. We don't want that cold to eat away at your battery. So keep it somewhere warm, even if it means you've got to wrap the base of it, not covering the top, just to insulate it. Stay it somewhere nice, shed, cupboard out of the way, out of reach of kids, etc. You know, the usual safety stuff. It should last you an optimizer battery. Mine's got a test circuit on top. It's got a push button so you can test the condition of the battery. It's got 3 lights. Dead, basically, need to do something quick. It's halfway charged and fully charged still. Now, those are ideal because if you go it somewhere where you can see it and it's out of reach but you can get to it and you haven't got it on charge, once a week you can pop in, push this button and it'll tell you if it's getting low or not. Obviously if it's getting low you can then go, I better put it on the old charger. So those are the things I recommend. Get a decent optimizer. You haven't got to go with a lithium charger. A decent optimizer should do it because they are smart and they will only put in the correct amount of voltage. Keep it on the optimizer when it's not in use, if you're doing it for short periods of time. It doesn't harm it. It just trickle charges it if it's just below, and if it's at the correct voltage it doesn't do anything. It just sits there ready. So you've got nothing to lose in that sense, right? So obviously safety first, decent optimizer. If you are going to do it long periods, keep it off the bike is probably best. So if you're definitely not going to be using the bike, I've got 2 bikes, so I could have easily took one off if I wanted to. It's not going to do me any harm to just have the one bike. Once it's also, if it does die, don't panic. Yeah, you can do stuff, so don't panic. It will be fixable. The idea is you need to put some more amount of volts in there. You could try and jump start it. When it's on the bike, quickly get a boost pack, jump start it. But as soon as it started, that's it. Take the boost pack off and just let the bike put some voltage into it. Not very long at all. You shouldn't need very long from a bike's alternator. You just need to kickstart that lithium battery with a little bit of ampage, a little bit of voltage, and then once you've done that you can take it off if you want to and then stick the optimizer on it and the optimizer should do it. I would definitely go with a lithium battery in a sense of, because they are relatively cheap for what they are. Some of them are stupidly expensive, 150 quid, 150 quid. I suppose you're going to get what you pay for, but I relatively get what I paid for mine. You know, I've had it 2 years, I've had no problems with it, besides when I let it go flat myself, which is my error. At the end of the day, I've had no problems with it. They're really light, so they're good for sports bikes, because they're really light, trying to keep that weight down. And they're definitely good for any other bike, really. You know, it depends what you do with a bike on a daily basis. So, you know, gel batteries are meant to be good. That was my next test, really. I was going to get a gel one next to see what they were like, but I didn't need to in the end. Look. So that's it. Final thoughts: get a decent optimizer. Take it off the bike if you're having it. If it's going to be off the bike for too long, just to make sure you're not going to drain it from anything. And don't go stupidly cheap. Also, the other thing, yeah, I've got to mention. Right. There are a lot of batteries out there, and a lot of batteries that are done for the bike itself. They're specifics, yeah. So, you know, you got a ZX6R 2005 or whatever. You look up batteries for that one, and they go, yeah, here's one. You know, here's a lithium battery for that one. It's 78 quid, and you think, oh, hang on a minute. That's a bit steep, considering the bike one for another bike for the same size is a bit cheaper. Right. What you need for your lithium battery, ideally, is cranking amps and the terminals run the right way and the correct size, give or take. Now, the good thing about the correct size part is that most lithium batteries are actually smaller, and they will give you, normally, if it's a lot smaller, these little blocks that you put underneath when it's sat in your battery tray, so it raises your battery up to the terminals and you haven't got to stretch your terminals down to the battery. That means you haven't got to get the battery that fits your bike. You just got to get a battery that is correct for your bike. Yeah, that can save you a lot of money. I knew what size my battery was, minimal size. I knew that anything below that I could still use, but I'd have to maybe add some blocks underneath it to raise it up. So I just went around and looked at, and just did a search for lithium batteries, and then I found the one with the best cranking amps that I needed, normally around about 180 to 200, decent enough. For the chopper it was a little bit more, I think, because it's very high compression on a V-twin. I found the best one that was the right size, or slightly smaller, but did the right amount of cranking amps, turned around the right way, and I got it for like 48 quid, I think it was. And that's been fine ever since. So you're going to have to experiment. You can't expect to, if you don't want to fork out the full amount on a correct battery for your bike that's been told by it's correct by some random person, so yeah, this is for your bike and it's 150 quid. If you don't want to fork out for that, don't. You know, if you can afford it, why not? You can't go wrong. Someone's told you it's right for your bike, so why not? But there's no need to. But you're going to have to take a gamble in a sense as well, because you're also then buying something that you don't know is going to be good enough for your bike until you actually put it on there. You didn't know if it's going to be good enough make until you put it on there, because it's a lot cheaper make. There's a lot of cheap makes out there. Most of them are Chinese or Korean. So you don't know what you're going to get. So you are taking a bit of a gamble, but then again, you know, most of them are like gambles, isn't it? I've had no problems before. I've ordered lots of stuff from China before, and yes, some of it's been really cheap and it's been really rubbish, so I've just binned it. I'm not going to send it back and say, oh, you know, you promised me this, it's not that good enough, blah blah blah. End of the day, I took the gamble with it. It's cheap, I'm going to bin it. If it isn't cheap and it works, I'm keeping it. I know it's going to be good for next time, or I can order from them again if I want to. So, end of the day, you take a gamble with it. You know, I'm doing this, so you don't have to take a gamble. I can't say that you can 100% trust me, and I'll guarantee every single battery you buy. But at the end of the day, as long as you buy one that's fit for your bike, terminals run the right way, correct cranking amps, and the right size, there's no reasons why, just because that bike's for a 400cc, or it says it's for a 400, doesn't mean it's not going to work for your 600, because it's got the right amount of cranking amps and it's the right size and the terminals run the right way. Yeah, that is the main features you want. So I would say do a good search, eBay, whatever. I use eBay a lot, and I've never really had any problems with eBay. I need someone to pull over, ideally. So don't take it as gospel, by all means, but this is what I'm doing this for, is to let you know that you can do searches and you can get away with buying stuff cheaper if you have a look around that's right for your bike, even though someone might say it's not. Yeah? So, back to what I was digressing again, back to all the other bits and bobs for the bike. The reason why I'm doing this. Yes, lithium batteries are good. They can be really good for your bike, and they can be really good helping you out with all sorts of problems, weight issues, etc, etc, if you want to cut down weight. So I would, yes, if you're going to get a lithium battery, they are worth it. You can get them cheaper if you have a look around. Just look for your dimensions that you need and terminals and cranking amps. Keep it on a trickle charger. Optimizer ideally, because you don't want to constantly put amperage into a battery where it doesn't need it. Take it off the bike completely and off the charger if you're doing it for long periods of time, but keep it in a warm place, relatively warm place, room temperature ideally. And don't be afraid that if it does die, you can revive them. And like I said, low amount of volts into it just to kick start it. So normally if it's on the bike and it's dead, jump start it, let the bike run for 5 minutes, putting some amps into it, take the battery out. I'm pretty sure it should be fine from then onwards. Mine was, and both of mine were. The one on this bike, which is why I'm using it now, because it's a point I'm making, I'm using it now, otherwise I wouldn't be able to use it. And the Honda, which is currently on charge as we speak, and when I get back in at some point I will probably take it off charge to see how much the battery then drains, because that was what I was worried about. I was worried about the battery's going to drain. As soon as I take it off charge, it's going to drop, or as soon as I start the bike, that's it, I'm going to have nothing left to start the bike twice, because it's just going to zap all the power. It's got enough in there, but it's not holding it. So that's why I'm testing it all now, so I don't have that problem. Because the last thing I want is to pull over in a minute somewhere, like if I do ever find somewhere, and find out that I can't start the bike again. So, oh, there's a big ass groove in this road. You can tell a lot of lorries go on this road, can't you? So yeah, that's my verdicts. This is hopefully go on YouTube, and I'll not waffle on too long, and it's not going to be a long drawn out YouTube video of me riding and talking rubbish. But that's basically what it is. I wanted to do a video of me boosting it and all that sort of thing, but I completely forgot, so sorry about that. So yeah, hopefully everyone will learn from this one, and it should be an educational piece for a change. Speak to you all next time. I may want to stop so I can clear my visor. I've had something hit my visor. I thought it was me sneezing a minute, coughing a minute ago. It was on the outside, and it was horrible and green, so I probably hit some bug or something. I just destroyed and splattered and got all over my visor. And it's smeared, taken off. Put a Honda in for MOT. That's due not this Friday coming, the Friday after, the 5th. So hopefully fingers crossed that will be alright. No reason why it shouldn't be. I had no problems with it, so everything seems alright, and the mechanic that I go to is a good guy, so hopefully we shouldn't have any problems. Ooh, let's have a subway. Nah, I should do. I haven't eaten yet. Shaddock tyres. I don't think I've used them yet. That's where I hired the van from, wasn't it, up here? When I bought the Honda. Oh, you're a dick. Forever lights. Expecting to do motorway today. I was just going to keep off of it, but anyhow.